value sessions. Why are we here? Because we, V13, La Vie, we have 13 values, 13 V's that we live and die by. These started with me. This is how I live my life, and my business partner and good friend Lance Marwood, who many people of my podcast, many followers of my podcast have seen through his podcast. He helped really capture those and help us publish them. You've seen them. We're going to talk about them. Okay. UK-based, multi-award winning singer, songwriter, and guitarist, Leoni Jane Kennedy. And if I'm saying your name wrong, you can correct me afterwards. PRS Guitars official artist with a debut album, Synthetic, due on June 15th. Hi.
Hi, you okay?
I'm good. You are no stranger to doing this, so you're probably going to do a better job than me. We've got 13 Vs. You said that two of them sound like they resonate with you in this album. What are they?
My two V's are life and truth.
Amazing. So, Vita and Veritas, very, very important ones. Kind of the beginning, the pillar of our 13 Vs. How do they tie into this album?
In multiple ways, I guess. Life is very complicated for everyone, I think, as a creative, especially in the industry nowadays.
Mm.
And touching on that, based off of what record labels used to do for artists are now doing for themselves. And in that process of trying to be an independent musician and a woman in the industry, I've been messed around quite a few times now. And you see documentaries online, people having issues with record producers or having all of their money taken away from them because they signed something when they're very young. And similar things happened with me, but in a way that it was completely in my control. And I felt that full responsibility on my career based off of decisions I made from being young and inexperienced. So because we're delving into everything quite deep here, going into this album, the finishing track of this album was written when I was 13 and I'm now 25, and it's taken that long for it to come about because of these issues. I moved away to university at 18, got in a band, recorded a live version of this album, but wanted to then fully produce it. Went to a guy who then took $2,000 off of me in cash, and it took 10 months for me to realize that he had no intention of ever giving me those recordings. That was money that I'd saved up from working a 9-to-5 job from 16. And eventually, after every month, texting the guy and saying, look, I just need a demo, some sort of evidence of what we did, because I was excited and I just wanted to hear what we'd done, because we did really good stuff together.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything back apart from excuses. And I had to get the law involved. My mum did a 5-year law degree to fight with my dad, which is a whole other story. But I haven't spoken to my dad since I was 13, so that should give you an idea. She gave me some legal advice, as did the Musicians Union, which is something I pay £20 a month for. It's essentially music advice for independent artists, as well as access to other things that are beneficial for people working on their own, which I would highly recommend. But between
you have to let me jump in, because you've said so much incredible stuff and I have goosebumps because I'm so proud of you. And this is exactly what this forum is for. Is I want real, I want raw, I want honest. People are not speaking their truths anymore. People have, for the last 5 years, been so worried about being canceled. And if you say this, then you are that. That is not the truth. We're going to dispel all those notions. You can be A and not be B. It's very easy. This industry has so many great people in it. Most industries do. We need to do a better job of finding those good people and bringing back like good connection, good community. Why don't we expand a bit more? I don't want you to feel rushed on the hardships and how you, from 13 to now, managed to endure, because that's a lot, to go through things. And I'm excited because there was, again, so many things that you said just there. I want to talk about this music's artist union and legal advice, but like, let's take a quick step back.
Yeah.
How did you keep going? Because so many people give up, and this industry can be ruthless, and there's so many dickheads, and how do we avoid them?
You can't, is the simple answer. You can't avoid it. And hardships make you more resilient in the end.
Mm,
And although I would, if I, for example, had a kid and the kid wanted to be a musician, my heart would skip a beat a little bit because of those hardships and the shit that you have to go through to get any sort of recognition for what you're doing. And
mm,
recognition was never the intention when I started writing music or when I started playing guitar. I just wanted to do what I enjoyed. And to a certain degree, everything that you have to do on top of it nowadays as an independent artist, you get recognized by record labels after you've done all of the work.
yeah,
So if you can imagine the extent of what an entire team of people can do for one company, and that all being on the shoulders of a young girl who's trying to make a career and finish a master's degree, it's been a
mm,
fucking lot. And the only reason that I got through it was I genuinely have nothing else that I want to do in my life. And although it's very difficult to perceive yourself as having a job when that job is something that you love, when you recognize that you not only have a passion for it, but to a certain extent, talent and work ethic and awareness of your ability, whether or not that comes from teaching other people, like I teach students now, I teach degree level programs and otherwise, and noticing how I am in comparison shows me that, oh shit, maybe I do know what I'm doing. And that's very difficult nowadays when you get people blowing up on TikTok and Instagram off of a video of their cat or a video of them playing like a riff from a really famous song and it gets
yeah,
hundreds of views and likes. That still to this day makes me think, what am I doing wrong? But depending on your audience, that isn't necessarily how you should manage things like that. I have a prog rock, blues, and rock audience. My income streams from merchandise and live performances is far greater than my numbers are on Instagram. I have a community of people that are older that aren't necessarily as active and engaging online. But that all changed a bit when I did the Rush Covers album New Old Woman, which is a collection of acoustic reinterpretations from my favourite band, um, who I'm fortunate enough to be going to see in August in Toronto. So if you're in Toronto at
cool.
any point, let's catch up. But yeah, I did that and recognized that there was a larger audience out there than I was appreciating at the time. And that just ended up filtering into my own career as well. The
Yeah,
Kickstarter, which I ran to raise the money to produce physical merch instead of, again, having that record label to get that advance and use that to produce merch. That is my community. That's my audience of people that I've built over the years, showing them what I can do with the Rush covers, showing them what I've been doing on my own, playing with bands, working with other artists. I've been a guitarist for the Anchoress and currently working with Solstice, who were big in the 80s as well. Um, all of these different things accumulate, and at the end of the day, I've enjoyed every single minute of it. The hardships come no matter how good it gets. There is always going to be something that knocks you down a couple of levels, but it doesn't determine your end point. It just determines how well you are willing to fight through it, I guess. Like if you
yeah.
it's the song as well, like get knocked down, get back up again, that you genuinely it's difficult in the moment, but if you take a step back and you analyze it after the fact, it is not impossible to keep going when you go through shit. Um
Let me jump in. What's amazing is that life. You talked about life first as the first value. That is the point. Life doesn't get easier, and the more success you have, and the further you climb, the more children you have, whatever it is, the harder it gets.
yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. You don't play a video game and it gets easier as you go. It gets harder as you go, and you develop more skill sets and more experience points and more weapons and armor and whatever to arm you for the harder levels.
Oh
That
yeah.
is life. And you're not speaking as it about it from a kind of woe is me, I don't know experience. You have crazy accolades. You're endorsed by PRS. There was a Brian May and Roger Taylor was a Freddie Mercury scholarship that you won. There
Yeah.
was I mean, you even have quotes from the New York Times. Like you've been there, you've been in it. How did you keep going? Was it just the pure passion of playing that you just had to get your art out and you avoided the bullshit and you learned from it and then said, fine, I'm not going to do that again? Like, how did you pivot through it all? How did you flow?
Recognizing that I knew what I was doing was the biggest part of it. And I think the way that I did that was by learning about my brain, and the
Mm,
psychology behind the way that I was thinking a lot of the time would be, I've got all of this potential of myself in my head and in my mind and in my fucking heart, but nobody else can see that yet. And the only way that I was able to find a way of putting that into my life was to live it as if it was already happening, and to
yeah.
actually perceive myself as someone who already had achieved all of that. And weirdly, psychologically, it did help in a lot of ways. But I got my first sponsorship from Yamaha when I was 13, and that's a really big thing for such a young person to look back on and realize I was still a kid and it only got better. And at that point, up until the age of 18, it didn't come easy, but it came a lot
Mm,
easier than it has done since 18 to 25. I've had to really push for it since then, because once you get to the point where, right, I'm no longer a teenager, what do I have to offer the world that isn't just a young girl doing what she does? And
yeah.
to a certain point, that can be impressive because I am a good guitar player. Like I do a lot of interesting stuff, and it is different to your standard three chords that you might expect. But that was enough when I was a teenager to turn heads. And I was really worried that once I got over that and I was older, that that would no longer be the drawing point of my performance. And I found
Mm,
that a really challenging thing to navigate. The way that I did navigate that was digging my heels in to my personality and trying to understand that comparing myself to other people that were doing really well, that were really cool, other people look at me and maybe think that I'm cool. And the whole thing that I always come back to is, would little me think that I'm cool now? And would
mm,
they aspire to be me now? And the answer is yes. And using that as a turning point and a platform to essentially just grow from has been the most beneficial thing for me. And the whole Freddie Mercury thing was a huge confidence boost at first, but then I realized it was actually a lot of pressure. And when you have pressure like that riding on your shoulders, it makes you think, right, what can I do next that's better? Which is
right.
even more challenging when you've already come so far at such a young age. I've had hardships, don't get me wrong. I've been depressed. I've had anxiety going on stage. I've avoided talking to people because I don't believe that I'm good enough. But these are all things within my capability to change. And so psychologically, I did that by reading and doing a master's.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. It's funny because you kind of inadvertently addressed the second value, which is truth, which is veritas. You're being very real, very vulnerable. You talked about manifesting. You talked about, getting knocked down and getting back up again. That just because you've hit certain highs, like, acclaim from notable magazines or outlets, or a big tuition or scholarship, that doesn't mean that it ends. People think like, if I or when I get to blank, things will be. It doesn't work that way, because when you get to blank, you realize, oh my god, there's like 84 more steps to this, and that thing that I was aspiring to or hoping would make me feel better doesn't. And you've kept going, you've kept enduring. Let's kind of wrap up with the beginning, going back to the beginning. You were talking about community, which is something I love. You were talking about this artist, or sorry, this producer who you had to text and follow up. Did you ever get anything from that person? What was the lesson you learned?
Physically, or did I ever get anything from that person in a lesson sense?
So physically, did you actually get anything from that person, or was it a wash?
We got the record back, but it was in pieces. So I went to two other
Okay.
producers called Nick Andrew and Elliot Kennedy. Emotionally, from that, what I gained was, I guess, I don't know that there was any emotional connection to it. It disconnected me for a long time, to be honest with you. I didn't want to do anything else. And I put it on hold until I met Nick, which was a year after we got everything back. And once I realized it was in pieces, I got a job working with dogs, and I walked dogs in the Surrey Hills for like 3 months until that ended in a fucking horrible way as well. So, and then I finished that and went, you know what, fuck it. I want to be a full-time musician. I need to start fucking acting like it. So I printed off copies of Life Like This, which was the first single I released that was actually from the original live studio recordings we did with John Gallen, who was the producer of Motorhead and Uriah Heep back in the day. He worked at ACM and he was my recording tutor at ACM, but he loved what I did and helped us record. And eventually, once I released that on a single copy CD that was burnt off on my computer, people started buying it and I had to start posting it. And that is when my endless trips to the post office and becoming friends with the postie happened.
That's
But yeah,
such a beautiful thing.
that is how it happened. That's everything that eventually led me to Nick and Elliot, was just going, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to try, even if it's not to the level or the standard that I hope it to be. You've got to start somewhere. And if you're thinking it's going to be completely as you have in your head from the get-go, stop that mindset immediately. You can have opinions on your own work. You can push it to breaking point until you hear it becoming absolutely everything that you want to hear. But at what cost? And cost in terms of time and cost in terms of your sanity as well. If you have a product, you are going to hear it completely different to how everyone else is going to perceive it as well. So get it to a point where you are happy and you love listening to it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Get it out, let the world hear you. And eventually, as a collective, all of your work will come together and be that vision rather than individual tracks. It will be a collective and you have to start somewhere.
I agree. Find that beautiful balance of being your own support system. You know, my again, Lance and I joke around like, no one cares, tough shit, keep going, right? Have that mentality, but also have the beautiful support of a village, of a community. Find the harmony between the two where you don't need someone, but you can still rely on someone. It sounds like not only have you endured 10 plus years of industry crap, but you've realized I don't need the help. I'm doing this because I love it more than anything in the world. And now that I've, fallen into that full time, you're actually starting to get good people behind you, and you have a very clear path forward. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, there's nothing else that I would want to be doing. But at the end of the day, if your belief in your music and what you do is stronger than the bad opinions of others, this is something that I keep finding as well. The better that I find I'm doing, the more negative responses I get. And if you think about like the ratio of good to bad, if you post a video and you get 3 people commenting and one of those people says something bad, if you've got 1 million comments, a third of that is going to be bad. But you don't think about the positive, you think about the negative. And learning how to spin that and make it recognize that that's a good thing. If you're getting more bad comments, that's a good thing. It's like any news is good news. Any promotion is promotion. Doesn't matter if it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's entirely accurate. Christ, my first huge limelight piece in Prog magazine, which is a magazine I've been reading since I was a teenager, quoted me on buying toilet roll after a gig. And I was fucking mortified. But I look back at it now and I had a chat with Jerry, the guy who owns the magazine, the other day. And I said, I find it fucking hilarious because it's so, one, it's northern for me to be chatting about that. But at the same time, that is what it is. There are artists that go out and buy toilet roll and buy you regular shopping a day after doing a stadium tour. It's not something that you should be ashamed of. It's something that you should laugh about and go, you know what?
Yeah.
If you can stay at the same level as your audience throughout your career and you can stay grounded as I have, and as I hope I always will be, to the point where they feel like they can come and talk to you about their problems, that's a career that I want. That's a career that I would be proud to have, because none of that bullshit of being above anyone. Don't pull the ladder up after you. Help the people around you. Stop gatekeeping things. There's so many times where that's happened and it's so selfish. And being a creative in itself, people would argue, is a selfish career because you're doing everything for yourself, for your vision. But then how is everyone else meant to have an outcome or a release of what they're feeling? We are vessels for emotions at the end of the day. There's tracks that people come up to me and say, I'm crying my eyes out. This reminded me of this, or it reminded me of this. It really resonates with them. And having that sort of therapeutic outlet of emotion through a song, if I can create that for other people, I've done my job right. If music is
Hmm.
considered a job, I've done my job right if that's how I connect with people. And I think that's what it's all about. Like, yes, you have to make a living making merch, physical copies of things. I find really fucking beautiful. I think holding a vinyl in your hand of your own work is the most satisfying and achieving thing that I've ever done. But at the same time, it wouldn't be like that if it wasn't for the community behind it that put the money into that to make me do it. So it always comes back to the people. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of creatives forget that. Build your audience based off of people that you want to be surrounded by and that will support you throughout.
I think that's an important message too. It doesn't matter how far you go, how big you get. You got to keep it real. Stay humble. Remember where you came from. And I don't think you mentioned ego there. I don't think it's selfish to create something and want to put it out. To thine own self be true. Like if you feel that that is your compulsion and that is your truth, then and that is your art, then you're okay doing that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one thing. So we've talked about love, we've talked about truth. You've done an incredible job of kind of hitting on both of those values for me. Last question. Synthetic. Why is the album called Synthetic if you are anything but synthetic?
I guess it's the irony of it and
Hmm.
feeling that even throughout the entire time when I was writing that song when I was a teenager, I didn't have the words to describe how it felt being numb to a world around me that didn't understand me. I just knew that it felt fake. And synthetic was the word that I chose to describe that. And as I got older and as everything has happened, I still resonate with that description now. When you disassociate from the world and you are so in your head about everything that's going down when you're writing music, although it can be overwhelming, eventually you come out of it and you realize, oh shit, I've done this. And the fakery stops. And when I
Hmm.
say fakery, I don't mean like I'm faking things. I mean having to fake being okay or fake being human when you feel like a fucking robot, when you're going through a system in life that just feels so rigged in a lot of ways, socially, culturally, everything that is happening to us nowadays, political and otherwise. Like
Hmm.
when you feel like you don't have a say and you're writing about emotions that you don't have a grasp on yet, I now have that grasp and I now understand everything that I was writing. And that makes it all the more powerful for me to listen back to as my own first record as a debut. Um, it is essentially another word for numb, but numb and dissociative is the way that it came forward.
I love that. I really appreciate your time. It's so funny that what I've learned in my 46 years on this floating rock so far is that there's only one thing in this entire world that I can control, and that is me and how I am and how I react and how I do. And it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job of learning how to control yourself, to recognize yourself. And the more that us as people and in within the music industry, for example, do that, control ourselves, speak our truths, get rid of these stigmas of our emotions, and you can't cry, you can't be sad, you can't be frustrated, you can't just fucking tell it how it is. The more
Yeah,
we do that, the more other people have zero control over us, and the more we'll realize we're all the same, the more we will connect as a community and village, and incredible things will happen.
100%.